Decided that I was going to tell him that I wanted a divorce. I texted my therapist, our marriage counselor, and I was like, I need to tell him that I want a divorce, but I want to do it in a session so that there's like a mediator present. Got us in like ASAP, like 2 days later. And I walked in knowing that I was going to ask for a divorce. We sit down in our session. It's like really tense, really awkward. My ex was sitting there like, so why do we have an emergency session? Therapist was like, Jamie, do you want to start? And I just started crying and I was like, I want a divorce. You know, it's hard for me to like say the words. I'm done. I want a divorce. He sat there quiet. I'm sitting next to him crying. He didn't move. He didn't look at me. He didn't react at all. He just was stone cold. And eventually our therapist was like, would you like to respond? He responded right away and he's like, fine, let's just go ahead and finalize the details. And that was that. I looked at my therapist and I was just like kind of stunned. I knew that I was ready to leave, but I couldn't believe that that was his reaction. There was no empathy. There was no compassion. There was no like wanting to fight for us. I didn't think that there would be, but you know, you just always hope that like one last try. We went home that night. We didn't speak. He slept on the couch. I woke up and went to work the next day, came home. He was playing PlayStation that night. I sat next to him. We hadn't talked in 24 hours. I said, can we talk about what happened yesterday? And he was just playing, just looking straight ahead. And he was like, what's to talk about? In my mind, I'm thinking, this is our last ditch effort to like steer this ship around, you know? And I was like, so what are we going to do? And he just kept playing. And he was like, I already got an apartment. I already took my name off of the lease. He had done things within that 24 hours. He had opened up the filing folder of his single man life and went ahead and got all this shit done.
So we were able to listen to that, right? And I think maybe I might have covered this some years ago or whatnot or whatever, but it came back on my feed and I'm like, you know what, it's 2025. Let me just put this up there for people who might not have seen it during that time, right? I'm a little bit confused, right? Normally when people sit up there and say when a woman is fed up, when a woman is done, she is done. There's nothing that you can do to steer that ship around. There's nothing that you can do to change her opinion or to change her mind. It just is what it is. You have to just sit up there and deal with it. But yet this woman multiple times in her own conversation contradicted herself. Well, Seiji, what do you mean that she contradicted herself? Well, she said that she was done. She wanted a divorce. So normally when people are done and they go the divorce route, everything is said and done. And especially when you're not just talking about it mentally to yourself, but you speak it directly into reality. Meaning that you formulate the words, a sound comes out of your mouth, and you're looking at your significant other, or you're in a setting of which you let them know this information. Which means that you've thought about this for a very long time. You were already done, you were already gone. But yet, she wanted to make a big fiasco out of this. She wanted to have this emergency meeting with their therapist. And the therapist already knew, I guess, what it was or whatnot or whatever. And she stated this, and again, she wanted to make this big brouhaha fiasco, woe is me, tiny violin type of thing. Like, oh my God, I want a divorce. My dog stepped on a bee. Amber Heard, right? She wanted to do all those fake tears. And again, those are fake tears. Because you're not going to tell me that out of all of the time that you knew that you wanted a divorce, that you knew that you saw this man every single day, every single week, every single month, every single year, every single minute, you're not going to tell me that out of all of those times you thought about this, you looked at him, you saw this, that now is the time that you want to start crying. This is what emotional manipulation looks directly like. And that's the type of stuff that I don't respect, because she's not even being honest. She's doing this to get a response. As she stated before, she was like, well, when I said this, husband was stone cold, stone faced, didn't sit up there and say nothing for minutes. And then the therapist had to step in and say, did he want to make a response? And he was like, okay, let's get the papers done. What do you want him to do? Why do you want him to sit up there? And I'm gearing this towards all the other women out there that happen to do things like this. It don't matter if it's a relationship, a marriage, or whatever it is. What's the use of doing this? You said that you're done. You said that everything is over. Why do something like this where you're trying to play games? You said it's done. When a guy hears this, it's like, okay, right? Just like when a guy loses a job, he ain't about to be whining and crying and all this. It's like, all right, whatever. I gotta move on. I gotta find something else to do. No problem. We deal with acceptance. Anything else that comes after that, we just deal with that after. But at that moment in time, it's like, okay, no problem. Cool. It's crazy how she wanted it to be over, but she wants him to fight for it. She was like, this is our last ditch effort to turn the boat around. He didn't even want to fight for it. I just thought. You thought what? You thought what? You thought what? You don't want to be with the guy. You don't want this anymore. You obviously saw greater or greener pastures. And I want to note to people that nowhere in her own telling did she say that the guy was horrible, that the guy was a leech, that the guy was a cheater, that the guy had multiple kids all over the planet and all this other. She didn't state nothing negative about the guy. The only thing that some women will sit up there and find that as a negative is his lack of emotion when it deals with topics and responding, and how it is that he just stayed playing the PlayStation and not wanting to talk to her. There's nothing to talk about. You said you want a divorce. We're just going to cohabitate for this time being up until things can get facilitated, and then that's it. Why is there a shocker? Why is there a problem? Why after 24 hours after you decided to tell this man during therapy that you want a divorce, why do you want him to still talk to you? That doesn't make any type of sense. That seems like somebody who doesn't know how to actually make decisions. That seems like somebody who wants to just jump off of a cliff just because. And now because you got the response that you didn't expect, now you feel another type of way. So the first divorce thing that you stated, he's basically to blame, right? And then when it dealt with how it is that he responded to the initial thing that you stated, I want a divorce, he's to blame. And now after him just sitting there for 24 hours and coming up with a plan for himself, not depending on you, not trying to cry, not trying to beg and plead and baby this and baby that, he's like, I'm just going to sit up there and move on because you said it was over. No problem. He's still to blame. This is why a lot of guys say the things that they say when it deals with stuff online. Because in this whole situation, if I were to specifically point at a person that is problematic or who is the problem, who is the core of this whole thing, it's her. But if you tell her that, if you ask her that, she's going to list you 99 different reasons why this dude was a problem, and she's going to list you 1,000 to 1,000,000 reasons on how she was trying to fix and better the relationship. Like I said, these are the problems. Like I keep trying to tell people, somehow, some way, somebody has to be the hero and somebody has to be the villain. You literally just saw that. She's in a sense trying to paint herself as a hero / victim, trying to save herself, or trying to, save the relationship, but also trying to save herself in a way of leaving a relationship that she feels is failing. And then the guy's the villain because of his lack of emotion, his lack of response, his lack of caring, his lack of empathy and sympathy, his lack of trying to understand, his lack of not wanting to fight, and all this other type of stuff. This is why a lot of guys just walk away, because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Like this right here should be case study number 1. This just makes no sense. And it's crazy to me how you have people that will get online. I'm sorry, let me be specific. How you got women that will get online, make videos like this and post them and think that this is a good look. That, you know what? This is the best version of me. I am 1000% correct. And I know that everybody's going to see it my way and everybody's going to agree. That's crazy. That's 100% crazy. 100% crazy. And I want to highlight this one fact that I know a lot of people aren't going to pay attention to. How much this woman does not care about this man. Well, Seiji, what do you mean by that? They went to therapy. She listed what her problems are. At no point in time was anything stated that he was listing his problems or whatever it was. And at no point in time did the wife even state that she has an understanding of how he feels from his perspective in a relationship, because a lot of times women do not care. It's usually a one-sided type of street where the woman cares about her feelings and how she sees the relationship, right? And again, it's not in a sense, the reality. It's a mixture of reality and fantasy, because you have a lot of women that have an ideal of what a relationship or what this guy is supposed to be versus what is actually in the reality of it. Guys live in a reality. We know exactly what it is. We don't got time for fantasies, because that's going to lead to a whole bunch of mishaps. That's going to lead to a lot of downfalls. That's going to lead to expectations that can never be fulfilled. And like I said, she didn't care about this guy at all. He didn't say that she understood why he said okay to the divorce. She wasn't even trying to theorize, sympathize. She wasn't trying to even make a dissertation about it. She made sure the whole thing was specifically about her narrative, her portrayal, how she painted herself, and how she was quote unquote the one that wanted to leave, but still the only one wanting to fight to be in this relationship. Wow. I understand why that man left. I 100% understand, and I see why he left. And shout out to him for leaving quietly. He didn't put up no fight. He didn't do no arguments. He didn't sit up there and put no hands on nobody. He didn't do nothing. He stood there in silence, and he technically spoke when either spoken to or when he felt that he could say things that had nothing to do with emotion. He spoke from a logical standpoint. I respect that 100%. But this also shows people what happens when you have somebody that is logical, that can put emotions to the side, versus somebody who is emotional and pushes logic to the side. This is what you're looking at. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about this video and everything that I stated in the comment description below. And as always, peace, love, and stay tuned for the next video.